Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Just a Recording Podcast, where we have conversations with individuals that think differently and challenge the status quo with success and valuable lessons. Thanks for joining us this week. We have a fire episode. Before I get into this week's episode and our new guest, I'd love to tell you a little bit about our sponsor, the Root brand. This product and this company has really just taken my life by storm. What they do is they take the power from roots and volcano ash and seawater, and they combine into two incredible products. One is going to be called Clean Slate, which helps detoxify the body of metals and toxins and just bring it back to its temple stasis. The other product that I am just over the hill in love with, just with my ability to, experience the space of nootropic, is the Zero In, and that is just blowing my mind. I'd love for you to try out these products, and I'm giving you a special access so that you can go ahead and get in. This is an invite-only brand for you to purchase these products. What I want you to do is go to www.therootbrands.com. That's therootbrands.com/universe. That's therootbrands.com/universe. And these products will change your life. We have just kind of jumped in head first. So thanks for joining us for another episode of Just a Recording Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Moen, and I have an incredible guest with me today. His story of resilience and perseverance has just really touched my heart in a really special way. I haven't done an incredible amount of research, but from the little bit that I've done, you just cannot be taken back and wowed by this gentleman's story and what he has been able to accomplish and just the short 40 years that he has been living. And so I think unpacking his story and his life is going to not only inspire you, but it's going to motivate you to be grateful for anything and everything that happens within your life, and to always wake up no matter what. As long as you're waking up with gratitude and a smile on your face, I think is his mantra. And so I'd love to introduce Todd Stabelfeldt.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for getting the last name correct too.
When you see it, you're like, Stabelfeldt?
Yeah.
No. I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah, kindergarten was stable face. And that was pre-crippled Todd. And anybody say my name wrong got a little bit of a throat punch. So it's definitely the, I don't know what you call me, bully maybe? That's probably what I was. It's probably the good definition. So
right.
The wheelchair sort of toned that down.
So Todd, tell me a little about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, I have grown up, and continue to live, in the military terms, we'd say the Pac Northwest, but Pacific Northwest. I was born down by the state capital of Washington, Olympia, and just sort of grew up in that neck of the woods, and currently live just sort of west of Seattle, in the little Kitsap County, a little town called Port Orchard. I need to be able to smell, the sea, the salt. I need to be able to hear seagulls and, the different sort of seals and things like that. I'm definitely a water person and married, a pirate. And so it fits well for her too. So yeah, we're best at home, when we're next to some water. So yeah, that's sort of where I live and where I've been. I've never gone outside of this. I've never lived anywhere else other than, this sort of the Seattle area and whatnot. I just I thought about it. I always wanted to be a bit of a traveler, but with the disability and the resources and the sort of ecosystem that you build in this environment, once you got it going, it's hard to sort of shake it and get out of it. So, but no, I love this area, and it's the place I'll be here until the day I'm done.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love Seattle. Seattle's such a great spot. I've never been there until 2 years ago. I went there for the first time, and like just the air is crisp, and like the stars are bright, and it's just like the smell and the sounds. And, I felt like an idiot walking around, what was it, like Fisherman's Cove in like Seattle, like where the first Starbucks was. And like, I'm like, oh, the road is called Pikes, like, duh. I felt like such an idiot.
That's all right, dude. And we tell everybody too, like, oh yeah, it rains all the time. It's a nightmare here, and that's just to try to, get to ourselves. Because yes, it does rain, but it's a little bit more of a constant drizzle.
Yeah.
And, summer in Washington is so far, and I have traveled to a lot of places, is the best place to live. Just because of what you said, that air is clean and crisp, and that sun is oh so beautiful. So yeah. We love this neck of the woods, man. It's our fun.
So growing up there, did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, so that's the whole story is right. When this is a package, but born in '79, so I'm 41, January 5, and was born to a mom, a dad, and a sister, Christy. Just I think 4 years older than me and whatnot. So that was the sort of biological side. And then my father died when I was a kid, when I was 4. And then my mom got remarried when I was a teenager. And through that merger, of marriage, that I acquired 2 stepbrothers and a stepsister, but always wanted family, siblings, a dad. So even though they are they're my people. So yeah, I got 2 brothers and I got 2 sisters, and I got an incredible father and a wonderful mother.
That's awesome. I'm sorry to hear about your father.
Yeah.
Do you remember him passing?
Oh yeah. There's all those, people ask, what do you remember? And it's one of those situations where, the story is hard, right? And if I cry, that's just part of the process. But it's been a very, very hard life. And sometimes you say you got a PhD, in pain and suffering. And so, yes, my dad died when I was 4 due to a motorcycle accident. And I have about a dozen memories of my father, Bruce. And only one of those memories is good and whatnot. And so, yeah, it's all really intense and crazy. And then it was just mom and my sister Christy and myself. And then when I was 8, so this is now 1987, that's when I got shot by my cousin. We were playing with some guns, just being ding-dongs, man, and I accidentally got shot. And that's what paralyzed me, So August of '87, I was 8, and that's how I became a C4 quadriplegic.
Yeah,
so that sort of gives you some of the starters of
right. And there's just so much to unpack there. So you were shot in the throat.
So actually, I was shot in the chin. And 1 second, I'm paralyzed. My arm just fell off. Put my arm down. My beautiful bride is sitting next to me.
Well, hello.
Her name's Karen. And now we're just going to work that spasm out. Put the arm back in this little holster. Okay, so you just push the arm lifts out for me too, Dave, as well. The other one as well. Thank you. Yeah, so I was 8, and I was shot actually in the chin. And then it went through my jawbone and then deflected down and then to the throat, larynx, and then obviously then severed the spinal cord, at C4. So the diagnosis is actually a complete C4 quadriplegic, which means the spinal cord was completely cut, not an incomplete, which is most folks, where like car accidents or diving, swimming, things like that. But yes, my spinal cord was completely cut. And that bullet is still there, and all the fragments. You take an X-ray of me, I'm just an old beat up gladiator. So, Just a funny little point to that. I was getting some work done on my teeth, maybe last year. I can't remember now exactly. And it was a new dentist, and so they were taking X-rays of my mouth, and the doctor did not know what had happened to me. It hadn't come up yet. And he goes, "So did you get in a car accident? Is that how you got paralyzed?" And I said, "No, not at all." And he goes, "Man, he pulled up on the monitor. He goes, look at all this foreign body you have throughout your jaw. It looks like you actually broke off one of your teeth, at the bottom of it." And I said, "Oh, that's a bullet fragment." And he says, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I got shot." And he goes, "Man, it's impressive how it traveled through the jaw, and broke off some teeth bottoms and left parts of the bullet as it traveled down, into your throat and into your spine." And I thought, how weird is that, right? Because it's like 30 years later, you're still learning about, what's all in there. And hopefully you don't get lead poisoning, right?
Yeah.
Find out.
One thing I want to notice and recognize is just your take on funny shit and just making people that you're either speaking in front of, talking to, feel comfortable and laugh. And I think a lot of people you might sense don't know how to interact or speak with you. And so you, like the manner in which you're able to make them feel comfortable by maybe cracking a joke or, talking about yourself is just, it's very telling at the person that you are.
I appreciate that comment. It's taken decades to get here. But yeah, no, I am absolutely cool with who I am and what I am and where I'm going. A lot of years of a lot of thought, counseling, a lot of prayer, and a lot of realization that, hey, this is your story, and either you can hate it or you can try to embrace it. And when I finally, allowed myself to hang out with the 8-year-old Todd, the little boy who got put in the corner of the room for so many years, who just wanted to be heard. But when I got to have a conversation with him and give him a hug, it was like, okay, we can do this. And to say, I don't want to be all this whole cliche thing and all crippled people are inspiring. If that happens to be what it is for you and your story, then great. But I'm just doing me. And to say that I have a life that I don't regret, that is a true statement. It's a 100% true statement. And that's not for inspiration. That's just naming out loud who I am as a human and who I am as a man. And if I had not made some of those ding-dong choices, I wouldn't be hanging out with some of the people that I'm hanging out with. And and are they worth it? So I'm blessed to have the story I have. It's a hard story. I'm a gladiator. I'm beat to shred. And I've been doing this battle now for 30 plus years. I hope I got another 20 in me. But you can sure as know when I'm out, all the ammo is going to be gone because I'm one of those dudes. And that's all I ever known. I'm a fighter. I'm a battle guy. I think that's probably why I like Game of Thrones so much, because it's just it's what I know. I've been in the war since I was 8. So
yeah. And how was afterwards? I mean, obviously your cousin, who this was obviously such a terrible mistake, had to be devastated by what had happened. I mean, obviously that unfolding. I mean, not to take away what had happened, but I mean, I'm sure that he was just completely destroyed from doing this.
Yeah, the realities are simple. This isn't just about me. This affects a lot of people. And we could literally spend days talking about the ripple of each of those individuals and what happened with them, in that accident. And, and to give just a couple of examples, that are, I think, appropriate and also extremely vivid and impactful would be the day before I got paralyzed, we had a babysitter, a wonderful woman who I loved and adored for years and years, even after the injury. And she was a great family friend. Well, she was not babysitting that next morning. She did spend the night because it was too late for her to go home. So she spent the night. Well, the next morning is when I got shot. She was not a babysitter. She just was sleeping in the room with my sister, and then her parents were going to pick her up and then go. And my mom thought, let me go do work for a little bit. My mom's a beauty hairstylist. So she was going to go to work for a hot minute, do a couple haircuts, and then her and her friend were going to go do some stuff. And so it was just sort of a normal morning, right? And then I got paralyzed, and she had to help me with the body and the bleeding while people were, going and figuring out what to do. And which was 16, and the amount of blood that came out of me was pretty impressive. I remember watching it like a squirt gun. It was just shooting out, and it was hitting a fan on the other side of the room, and it was a white oscillating fan, and it just went straight to red. It was just intense. And then she was covered in blood, and then went down to a spare room on the first floor to sit there while everything was happening and occurring. And she just destroyed the couch, from what I understand, with all the blood on her clothes. Went home, went to sleep, makes sense. Phone rings, wakes up, picks up the phone, and the immediate response was, "You'll never babysit my kids." And then that was the last time she picked up a phone for 4 years or something like that. That's just one ripple of a horrific moment that we all have various, versions of what happened that morning, August 13th, 1987. And my cousin, hearing his story, his mom, my aunt, Debbie, is one of my closest friends. And I'm still very close with Mike and his family. I love him. We've done the whole forgiveness thing. It is crazy to deal with that and go through all that. But it's what we did. It's what you got to do to find sustainability, to find any sorts of joy, and peace, is to walk through the rough stuff, and we have. And sometimes you got to do it more than once. But yeah, that was a really horrific morning for everybody, and we all have our own sort of versions of what happened, and we've, for the most part, talked quite a bit about it over these years, just to clear the air, name it, deal with it, and then move the heck on, because I'm not one of those dudes that needs to sit in that space. I got things to do. I don't got time for depressions and sadness. I got to get it done, and I got to handle it. So that's sort of me. Yeah.
And I'm sure you said you spent a year in the hospital, right?
Yeah, that's some crazy stuff. If you ever interview another crippled person, especially like the new babies, coming on scene. Back in the day, you were in the hospital forever. So I did hard review for 6-7 weeks, 8 weeks maybe, a couple months, and then transferred to Children's Hospital because I was 8, and I was there for another 10, 11 months. And then I came home for a hot minute, ended up getting pneumonia, and went back for 2 more months. And then that was the routine for the next year until I had a pretty significant surgery. A percentage of spinal cord injuries, they get this thing called scoliosis, and start getting curvature of the spine as a result of a spinal cord injury. I was one of those people, and so my spine sort of started looking like the shape of an S, and then that sort of messes you up and works your lungs, and and just screws you over. And so I had to get what is called a spinal fusion. So in '89, a couple days after I turned 10, January 10th, 1989, pretty sure it's 89. Yep, yes, 89. I had a spinal surgery, and they fused the entire spine, top to bottom. So if you take an X-ray of that area, it's just a bunch of rods and looks like chicken wire wrapped around the spine with all these cadaver chips that are it's almost like concrete. But who knows how long that lasts? I hope it lasts a little longer. But there's a lot of titanium and whatever those are in the spine. So yeah, that stopped the body growth from the waist, the torso, so to speak. The arms still grew out, the legs still grew out, but I got this little tiny chest with a little dude, a little hairy dude. I got a ridiculous amount of hair, as you can see. But yeah, I got a little 8-year-old chest and whatnot. So was supposed to be like 6'4", 6'5", but that didn't happen, obviously. Made it to 6'1", and pretty sure I'm shorter than that now. But yeah,
we would have been the same height. We would have been big, burly, redheaded.
Amen, dude. Right?
Massive men.
Yeah, I'm drinking out of horns. Right? I'm into it.
I'll drink out of one with you, buddy.
Right? This is crazy stuff. Have you ever let your beard just get all just big and burly?
You know, I just shaved it, and I probably should have just kept it. It was a little. I had some quarantine beard going on, but when I was married before I got separated, I had like a really big beard. Not as yours is noteworthy. Okay,
gotcha. I like your hair. Have you cut your hair? I've not done anything with my hair since the 3rd of March.
This is not cut. I just styled it, and
you just do it.
I just, the amount that you can do with a blow dryer.
I got you.
Yeah.
It's looking good, man. I like those muscles too, bro.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Real recognizes real.
Amen, right? Yeah, okay, naming that out loud. It's all good. There's some really beautiful dudes out there.
Seriously. So growing up, obviously in the late 80s and then in the 90s, as a quadriplegic has got to be pretty trying. And, obviously you work as a coder. So tell me about the transition of in the 90s and in the 2000s,
Sure.
Being a quadriplegic. You obviously went to school and studied how to become a coder. You learned how to, how was your adaptability to be able to do so many different things, but yet be so limited?
Right. Yeah, quadriplegia is really the skill set to do quarantine, at the excellent level. So, everybody's all complaining and whining. We'll be a couple months into it. I've been doing this for 3 decades. This is nothing. And when I start to get a little whoopy and weepy, baby girl comes in and says, hey, you ain't getting shot at in the Middle East. It's on 130. Or we're not living in an attic, right, eating potatoes for 5 years, waiting for the Nazis, right? So it's a little bit of a, oh yeah, we're not in Frank, and we're not fighting in the war.
Right.
So, and we got to on live streaming service you can think of. But to tell you that answer, you have to first completely understand that I grew up right without a dad for a little bit. The neighbor, my grandpa, he was my dad. So my mom's father, and Odell Grady Presley. He would wear a T-shirt that said Bama's best. And he'd wear shorts with knee-high socks, penny loafers with the penny in the loafer. So this dude had character at the next level. He was a skinny boss hog off of Dukes of Hazzard, okay? And he had some real choice names for me. And the good one was grandson. And then there's the other stuff, scream and swear words and things he'd call me. And he was a man of man's man, and you do what you're told, and you put groceries on the table, and he was Southern, he was Navy when we bled blue, and it's just what it was. And he was my dude, man. My mom would go to work, she would walk me over or carry me over to my grandma and grandpa's house, throw me in the bed with my grandpa, and then my grandpa gets time to go to work, grandson. And then we'd go roof houses or build houses. I'm 6 years old, 5 years old. And he taught me so many things. Man, go sharpen that saw blade. Go get the chainsaw ready for grandpa. Yes, sir. And, get the pickup truck and bring it over here. I'm 7 years old, right? I'm driving a pickup truck. It was just insane. But at the same time, thank God he did, because I had no idea he was going to get crippled so young. But no, I've driven a car, how to work a saw. On that whole scene and whatnot. And then, man, he kept it the same after I got injured. It was, I had so many stories. You're not special. You do what you're told. You're going to put groceries on the table regardless of your situation. And then, of course, my mom was like that too. And that's just what it was. It was made very clear when I got home from the hospital that my mom called it tough love. I've said this before, probably out there all over the internet somewhere in videos and things like that. She called it tough love. And she said, I didn't shoot you. These are her words. I remember this clear as day. I was sitting by the fireplace in the living room. I didn't shoot you, and I'm not changing my life to take care of you for the rest of my life. So I'm going to give you grace. I'm going to give you 2 years of grace. You're out of the house at 20. You're in a job. You're in school. You're living somewhere else. But I'm not here to take care of you. And it was, yes, ma'am. So, right, are you 9? So you got to start making plans. Okay, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? How's this going to happen? And then when mom got married to Dan, is his name, Dan Alberts, is my dad, big dude. He's such a cool cat. And he said to me, well, son, you always go, here's a pretty son. What are you going to do, son? And I was like, well, I want to be a psychiatrist. And the whole plan was to be in the military. I had hoped to be a Navy SEAL. I don't know if I'd make it or not, but I talked about it all the time as a kid. And then I wanted to be in the Secret Service. That was like, and what 6 and 7-year-old has a plan, right? That's just who I am. And it's such a product of my mother. If you met my mom, you'd get a good chuckle and whatnot. And so my dad said, if you cannot become a psychiatrist, because I don't think crippled people go to med school, right? And so I was like, well, okay. And plus, I wanted to go to out of school state. I didn't want to go to Washington. I wanted to go down to California to Berkeley, and whatnot. And he was just like, "You need some sort of trade. You can't work at a local hardware store." And I was like, "Well, that's a good point." And so then this thing called the internet, was percolating, and it was going to take over the world. And that's where I'd learned about some study, basically like a running start concept. A little bit different back then because this was in the 90s. And yeah, so I ended up actually really as a backup plan before going to college was let me go get some skills, right? Let me go to a trade school basically. Learn how to do this thing called software development, in a framework called client server relationships. And that's what I'll do. And in the process of doing that, that's where the story gets really weird, bro, is that I had to be emancipated from my parents because the way the state worked, or maybe still works, I have no idea. And to try to get monies to pay for tuition and go to this school and being part of like the state where your money is for what county you live in. I mean, it's so complicated and so crazy. But here I am now living, an hour and a half away from my parents, in a house where, paying rent, going to school to become, a software developer, again, to be a backup plan, and then to begin to see the reality. I didn't hang out with crippled people. I was like the only dude in a chair in my, community, in southern sort of Washington there by Olympia. And I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know about social services, any of those scenes. It was just do your job, get a job, get paid, that type of deal. And in the process of going through, the associates, so I have my associates, is whoa, there's no way in heck I'm going to school. I mean, if living like this, just living an hour and a half away from your parents' house, how am I going to live in California, right, or anywhere else that I want to go to school? And med school? No, that's a joke. Disabled people don't go to med school. It looks like at 16 and 17, disabled people stay on the system, and they don't do anything. Because if you show any sort of excitement or inspiration to be independent, you get sort of punched in the face. And then it was, well, I guess I'll go try to get a job. But then, now you're 17, and it's the summer, and now you're done with your associates. But it's not validated because you don't have a high school diploma or a GED. So then it was, go get your GED. Yeah, but shouldn't I get a diploma? That's what everybody gets. Don't you get looked upon like a ding dong if you get a GED? Like that's for the idiots? And then these are my thoughts, right? Based on whatever, right? Stereotypes or maybe what I read or what I was when I was a teenager. I have different opinions now as an adult, but back then I was freaking out. And they said, well, okay, well, yeah, you could go to high school and you're 1.75 credits short of your high school diploma. And I went, well, what does that mean? You got to read these 3 books. You got to do this class and you're golden. I said, hook it up. And it was like a month and a half later, I was done. So now it's like the end of summer at 17. So it's like 96. I got my associate's degree and my high school diploma from a school I don't even know, from a school I never even stepped foot in. And ended up graduating a year earlier than what I was supposed to graduate. And instead of getting the how to do a little ding dong tassels, with a year on it and stuff, I picked the colors of the school that I grew up in, and because we're Bulldogs, and ended up graduating in the class of '96, not the class of '97, from a high school that was an hour and a half away from the high school I was going to when I was younger. So super weird story. And then now you're done. Right now you're 17, you got your AA, you got your high school diploma, you live an hour and a half from your parents, you're emancipated from your parents. Now you're sort of a state, a ward of the state, or what they call that. And you go, well, I'm not going to school, I'm done. This is an irritant. I guess I just got to get a job. And then you have no idea what you're about to get into because you have no clue about what people think and what people see you as, and you're 17. Who's going to hire a quadriplegic to be a software developer? And you're not even 18, right?
In the 90s, so less.
Clark, bro, this is all Lewis and Clark, right? We're doing both roles at the same damn time.
Right.
And so then it was, well, let me go hire and apply for every single IT job in the Seattle PI newspaper. It was like 173 or something like that. I know it was more than 170, less than 180. I'll just go 173. And I applied for every single one of them. And then I remember going to these interviews, just scaring these people to death. I look back now and go, oh, wow, that's sad, and having the craziest of excuses of why we're not going to hire you. Microsoft, Eddie Bauer, right? All these companies that are just who's who nowadays. But back in the day, it was no. And I ended up applying for a job, this medical software company on Bainbridge Island, Washington. I was living at that time in Renton, Washington. So if I wanted to drive around to get to Bainbridge, that'd be probably an hour and 45 minutes, or I could go up to Seattle, 20 minutes, jump on a ferry boat, 35 minutes, get to Bainbridge, and about 5 minutes off the ferry terminal, I'd be at the office. And I was like, well, I got to get a job. So get suited and booted, get the resume printed on the heavy stock, right? Because he wanted to see the big, thick paper. And so I pushed foot over there, and Steve Steele come walking out of the office. He's a huge dude. He's like 6'7". And he was a crazy old coot. I loved him to death. A lot of respect for Steve. He's no longer with us and whatnot. And my interview was, I think, 15 minutes long. And I couldn't fit in his office. He had to move the table, out of the way so he could shut the door. He could barely sit down in his big old leather chair, looked like he was the Godfather. And he asked me 3 questions, which I thought was funny. 1, how'd you get paralyzed? Which, I've been told that illegal. You can't ask that question in a job interview. But that's me. I answered. Second question was, how much money do you want? And the third question is, can you start tomorrow? And I said, for money, I want 50 grand. That's what the school told me I could make. He's like, how about 25? And I was like, well, okay, sure, sounds good, man. And then I can't start tomorrow. I need like a couple days to figure this out. And he said, all right, sounds good. I can start on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever it was. And so okay, I got a job, but I'm living in Renton, but I got to go to work on Bainbridge. How am I going to get this figured out? So then, like the next 3 months, my caregiver drove me every day, and then I was going, but dude, man, you're making more money than I am, and every money that I make working this job, I'm basically just paying you to drive me to and from. And then I got the ferry fees and all that stuff, and then I was like, well, I got to figure out how to do this by myself. And so then it was, all right, well, you take me back and forth from Renton to Seattle, but I'm going to get on the ferry boat by myself. And then it was, okay, then I'm going to get to Bainbridge, and then I'm going to catch a bus, the crippled bus. They call it Access, which is a joke. And then they barely ever come pick you up. And so then it was like, screw it, I'll drive a wheelchair. So then, I mean, this is mad dogging, dude. This is 97. This is 18 years old. Just do what you're told, find a way, work the problem, all those little cliches. And I certainly did that, man. His name was Ron. He was a good dude. He's a caregiver. He'd drop me off. I'd catch the boat. I'd cross over to the island. I'd get off the ferry terminal. I'd drive my wheelchair up to the office. Someone would open the door for me. I'd go do my thing. And I did that for about 6 months. And then it was like, man, I really need to be able to live here. I mean, this whole commute and rent, this whole cell phones. Cell phones didn't exist. I had a pager that I couldn't even use. But if I got a beep on it with the 911, I knew that was an issue. Or Mama would do the 143. I think it was I love you. I think it was back in the day, right? So, and I had a Velcro to my steering wheel, so I could like at least see who was paging me. Couldn't do anything with it, but it's funny to think about those. Man, I'm thinking about some really old memories. And then it was I should really live on Bainbridge. And dude, and through some ridiculous, I called the apartment next door to the office, and I said, do you guys have any disabled, units? We do, but they're all booked. I said, okay. By disabled people? No. Oh. Well, can we make a change? Can an actual disabled people get like the actual disabled room? No, we like 7 months booked. I was like, all right, well, we'll forget that. I mentioned she not do that. Next day she called me. She's like, this is really, really weird. I've been doing this for decades, and I don't know how this happened. I said, what's that? She goes, everybody canceled. That apartment unit's available. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm thinking this is like a must be, like this is for you, because everybody literally canceled after yesterday. And I was like, well, meant to be is meant to be. And so then I moved in to that apartment complex, and I lived in that apartment for I think like 10 years or so. As I worked the job and grew the org chart and became a manager and then a VP and did the C-suite, then started working in Seattle because I didn't like the idea that we had split offices. We were spending all that money on 2 different offices, and it really was the owners. One lived in Seattle, one lived on Bainbridge, and they still want to commute. And it was just like, grow some hair, it's time to get it done. And so we just consolidated and built this pretty cool team. And I mean, those were like the days of like the elevator, right? You're on the 3rd floor. Guess what? You're crippled. You can't hit the button. So I was like, what are you going to do? Well, I called Otis, the elevator company. Said, hey, can we work together on some sort of mechanism to fire off the elevator? If I can open a door, with RF frequency, like a Genie garage door, shouldn't I be able to? And they're like, well, that's sort of weird and different. We just got to get Bob. He's an engineer. And then, 2 weeks later, I can control the elevator in the office building I worked at for years, which then they actually end up selling that as like a feature and whatnot. I mean, we're constantly working the problems, being independent, at the cell phone, right? I couldn't make a phone call with a cell phone, but I could set the Motorola flip phone, right? The StarTAC 360, whatever it was called. And I could set it to 2 rings. So somebody could call me and the phone would pick up. And then it was call me every 7 minutes to make sure I get to the ferry boat. And this is the path I'm going to take, right? I'm going to get right where you're talking about is where we are on Western Ave, right next to Pike Place, where the coffee shop is, the first Starbucks. I'd take Western Ave down to like Pacific or University, and then cross over to Waterfront. And if anybody called me and I didn't pick up, wait 2 minutes, call again. If I didn't pick up the second time, broken arrow, something's happened, follow the path, Todd's ass is tipped over, or something's wrong, right? And then thank God, because there was a couple times there where I got stuck in my wheelchair and I couldn't pick up the phone. And they came down, had to help me out and whatnot. So you were just constantly figuring out the plans to maintain independence, to be a grown man, right? And because no one was paying your way. This is all out of your own W-2.
I am like jumping out of my chair at just like, I have like 70 questions.
I'll shut up there.
This is incredible. When you were sending out those resumes to those 170 businesses,
173.
So you had a caretaker at the time that was helping you?
No, bro. Come on, gotta be independent, bro. Modem, dude. I was faxing that stuff on my Win machine, dude. Windows 3.1, Win95, and that last res that I popped, it connected at 14.4. I thought, oh my God, we're at 14.4 baud rate. This place is dope, right? That was faster than baud rate of Microsoft.
Right.
And I thought, man, we in it to win it now. And that's that Cortex job that I got.
And then your thought process of being able to wheelchair to the ferry and then to work in Seattle, the rainiest place in the world.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, what happens if it rains and you're riding on your motorized bike to work?
Throw some hair, you get wet, dude. You gotta handle it. Yeah. I made friends with all those ferry workers. Hey, I got a booger. Could you help me pick the booger? I'm having a little bit of a low blood sugar. Here's $1 out of my wallet. Can you give me Snickers? Just shove the whole thing in. Can you dry my glasses off? I mean, there was, I call them ferry friends, right? You had your 705 ferry friend, you had your 755 ferry friend, depending on what boat you were on. So you usually connect and build a relationship with people. I mean, the whole scene is designed on relationships.
Yeah.
Right? So you build relationships with people. And at the end of the day, I think people desire to assist and be a part of something, that purpose. So you connect with your ferry friends and they feed you a little bit, give you a hug or whatever. And that's what it was, bro. Independence.
So you worked for this company for 10 years and helped grow, and you went from working as a low-level employee making $25,000 a year to a C-suite executive.
Yep. Yeah, we're from 15 years. And let me tell you about the money thing, because I guess I did make quite a bit of money, but it was always like, why even work? Because disabled people, I mean, that's a whole nother potentially podcast, but so I'm making 25 G's, right? 18, 19. I get to 20 and I get the letter, right, from social services, which then was a reality check of, okay, so every month I'm getting money from social services because my dad died when I was 4. And then I was getting some monies because I was disabled. Well, you got a job now. And so what happened between the age of 18 to 20, and again, these are some weird stories, right? It was a series of social workers retiring at social services there in Olympia, Washington. So the paperwork just kept getting stacked up on the next one, on the next one, on the next one. Took 2 years before they finally got to my name and said, no. This cat's been getting monies every month for 2 years and he's got a job? No, he got to pay all that back. So I got that letter that said, hey, you got 6 weeks and you owe, it was really, I don't know, it was like, let's say 50 grand. It was, I don't know what it was. It was something like that. And I thought, okay, I guess I got to figure out how to make payment plans. And my mom was like, she always calls me baby. She's like, baby, you ain't paying that. I said, okay. She's like, let me make some phone calls. And I said, all right. So she called me back and they said, they're sorry. You don't owe them anything. But you're not going to get the services anymore because you have a job. I said, okay. So I went back to Steve and I said, Steve, either you got to like give me a pretty significant raise or I got to quit. He's like, why you got to quit? I said, well, I'm sort of learning here. I'm saying it different now. I'm 40, but I'm sure I said it different at 20. And I'm like, I don't make enough money. And because I have a job, the state says I can't get any money from them anymore. So I need to be making like, 50 or 60 grand for this to work. Or I got to go like probably move into a nursing home because I can't go live with my mom because I'm 20. And then he was like, well, I did take advantage of you because you're disabled. And I should have been paying you that from the get-go. So how about we go ahead and give you like 55 grand or whatever it was, 50 grand. And I was like, okay. Now I could have been pissed and went, well, you've been ruining me and dogging me for 2 years. I did. I was like, yeah, man, that makes sense. I probably would have done the same, So yeah, let's do this. So then that squashed the extra monies coming from the state so that I could stay, quote unquote, afloat. And that's the next, 10, 12 years was moving up the chart, figuring how to be that dude. And every year the accountant going, why do you work? When your taxable income, it's like 18 grand, even though you make like 130, and I said, I don't know. It's what I was told to do. And they're just like, nobody's doing this. Like, I don't know one disabled person in this country that's completely, hoofing it on the W-2 and no outside monies. Yes, you have a very small annuity from, being injured. But that money didn't even pay rent, and I was like, well, yeah, I guess I could maybe quit. And then what? I guess I'd join Medicaid and do that whole scene, but that doesn't feel right. And isn't the American dream, right? To be independent and to be grown and to be the man's man and have a lot of fun. And it was just one of those things. Every year I just stayed with it. And it was crazy. The fact that relationship thing is I couldn't afford a wheelchair. Right? I couldn't buy a wheelchair. I couldn't buy equipment. So I'd make relationships with all these different vendors, and I'd make all these payment plans with everybody. And because everybody was so blown away by the story that they would either give me ridiculous deals or they'd give it to me for free, or they would say, we'll give it to you, but can you talk about it? Like, what if we did a radio interview? And would you just share, where your wheelchair was made, or what type of computer you have? Sure. Right? I have no idea of doing product placement. I have no idea of becoming like an SME, right, for any of this stuff. And basically like the crippled, Tiger Woods, pre-skanks.
You were an influencer before an influencer was even a thing.
It exists, right? So I did that for years, man. And you just built life. And when technology finally would catch up and you could make
you paving the way.
Yeah, man. Lewis and Clark, dude. That's what it was.
So what kind of work did you do for those 15 years that you were there? What was your job title and kind of what was some of the work that you were doing?
So this is where, you got to go back to, man, this stuff is been put on an agenda because I was forced, to love the laboratory in 87, as an 8-year-old little boy, when you got to do a blood test or a urine test, or a sputum test, and you got to get that result, right? And you're just going, you're in the ER, right? And you're waiting for the lab results, then you're waiting 2 days for sensitivity reports. And so you're forced to understand the laboratory. And then you get a job 10 years later. That's actually a funny thing to note, just for just a quick little math. So at the age of 8, being paralyzed to the completely employed, gainfully employed was less than 11 years. And you finished high school and you finished college. And you got a job. Right? That's some Tormon work, right? That's some next levels. And I ended up getting a job, with a company that wrote software for pathology labs, specimen tracking software. And it was like, wait a minute, man, I've been on the other side of that equation and still am. Now I get to be on the tech side of that equation. So like healthcare IT, laboratory IT, writing software. And for that company, it was very specific. It's called anatomical pathology. So like autopsies, pap smears, breast biopsies, things like that. And now we do a lot more than just specifically anatomical pathology, but that's where I started, and that's where I was for 13, 14 years. I don't know how long it was. I didn't know math on that one, but it was a long time. And then you got bit by the entrepreneur bug, and it was like, can I buy the company from you? And they're like, no. All right. I was like, well, either you got to go or I got to go, because I want to go do things differently with the company. And that was easy. Like, you got to go. And so I left, and a couple months later, I started getting phone calls because my cell phone number was on sticky notes all over these server racks, at all these different laboratories across the country. And then it was, we need help here, need help there. And it was not a conflict of interest, because the company I worked for didn't do what I was doing. And I was working as what's called a database administrator. And, we did not provide that service. And I see now that wouldn't have been appropriate. But it definitely carved out a little niche that I could fulfill. And that's what C4 is today. It's a full service, 24/7. It's called Pure Play DBA. And that's what me and the team do across the country, different time zones. We just take care of databases and labs. And when you're a digital plumber, they start asking you to do some of that data, export it, import it, shove it through a portal, send it over to your interfaces, CDC, or the various states. Every state has like a registry and whatnot. And it was just some of that wild stuff, bro. And this is what we did.
So how many innovations do you think you've played a hand in? You talked briefly about like talking to the elevator company, like using a frequency to open up the door so that you can push the button. How many innovations do you think you've been a part of for software? I mean, I know that...
I'm being rude. I'm taking a sip of water while you're asking the question.
No, go for it, dude. I mean, I think it sounds like some of the companies that you were talking to help you, whether it was your chair or, I mean, even just you, I saw some stuff when iOS 7 came out where you were being interviewed of like how this was a game changer for you. So you were indirectly and directly a part of some pinnacle changes, I think, for the community of disabled individuals that needed a little, like just a little bit of a difference to help them live a normal life.
Yeah, I think the answer, maybe at the high level first, is, you know who you are, and the goal is to, copy, paste, rename, and to do it good. And if you can scale that, then awesome. Yeah, and if it happens to be what you love, right, even better. And so I'm good at starting. I'm good at connecting. I'm good at that Lewis and Clark gig, right? It's that whole battle, right? Fight, never give up. No is not an option. Failure, not an option. Both personally, because of the whole Earth suit issue, and of course I would take that to a job, right? Of course I'd take that to a business. Failing is not going to happen. Success is the only option. That's the only word in the playbook. And whatnot. And so because you build the relationships, because that's how the world works, regardless whether you're an elephant or a donkey, right? Relationships is it. That's how it was all made, and that's what we got to do. When you build those relationships, you start investing in people's story. They start investing into yours. Now you're able to share transparency and truths, and purpose and this, that, and the other. And I could not give you a count of the amount of really cool opportunities that I've been a part of and been blessed to be a part of. But I can sure tell you I got a ton of NDAs, right? I got a ton of them with a lot of them. And that's okay. Because I'm a starter, bro. I'm not that dude, on the sailboat, living the quad quarterly life, with the cool shoes. It's just, you're just, what you're the gunner, right? You're the heavy machine gunner. You get up, you're a battle guy, get it done, don't complain. And when you do, baby girl will set you right. And you just know your role, and you just got to do it. And so I couldn't give you an answer, but it's been a real honor to be in this game since the 90s. And yeah, a lot of cats get to roll with some really cool stuff based on some real sweat off the brow. And this brow right here is the one that was a part of that team, and super blessed.
That's incredible, because if you think about it, and you can hear, you're just so humble about talking about like everything that you've had a touch in. All right, I got a question for you. Does your Siri still call you the Quad Father?
Yes, and I'm telling this to every interview that I've done this with, because I did my 15 minutes of fame with Apple, and it was a fun ride, and it was certainly a blast. Led into some really cool things. I did not nickname myself that. I'm not that dude, but that is what most people call me, and have called me for a number of years, is the Quad Father, based on what you're hearing now and all the stories. So when I got my phone, and the phone said, do you want to be called something? And I was like, yeah, call me the Quad Father, right? Because that's what everybody calls me. And so Siri's like, okay, cool, you're the Quad Father. So during that commercial, you can't wear your headset. Like right now, I got the AirPod, so it's all speakerphone. And when the phone, because I turned the lights on, and the phone said, whatever, the ceiling lights are 20% Quad Father, the director goes, what? Quad Father? And I was like, yeah, man, that's my nickname. That's why we live in the Quadriplegic, bro. And he was like, oh my gosh. And I had no idea that it was going to turn into that sort of, mafia themed ad, where they had to go about and buy the rights to use the Godfather music from the movies. I mean, I cried like a baby when we watched that ad that rolled out that night. Was it months later?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh my gosh, they captured my heart, right? Because there is a little OG, old school OG, not the new stuff. A little bit of thuggery, but with a big heart, and a little bit. I think I could have done pretty good in the 20s, yeah, that was a really cool ad. So I had a lot of fun with Apple, but yes, most people call me the Quad Father. In fact, I'm looking at my wheelchair screen, and like a dashboard of my screen on my wheelchair, and it says Quad Father, and that'll probably always be my name.
Listen, we might have to put in for a change.
Okay.
The Gladiator.
Yeah.
The Gladiator.
When Ted said that, that made me laugh. I was like, well, that's my nickname. I can roll with that.
I was talking to Ted about 2 hours ago, and I was like, guess who I'm talking to tonight? He's like, who? I'm like, Gladiator.
I love how he's got nicknames for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Red Baron and the Gladiator at it tonight.
Yeah. Have you met Clark, who worked with him at Kalo? We call him Dry Fire.
So, dude, I'm calling him TB. I've known him for like a month, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know any of his people other than the podcast he did with he's a nickname, and he shared some of those nicknames. But no, I don't know any of his crew other than him and the Red Baron. That's it.
Yeah, long story short, we have a guy that we worked with. His name's Dry Fire at a SHOT Show, which is a show in Vegas that's like gun and archery. He went to Kalo had a booth there, and he went to an archery booth and picked up the most expensive bow and pulls it back and then lets it go.
Fire.
And literally everyone's asshole in the entire arena puckered and looked at him like, idiot. What did you just do?
My brother Tom's a bow hunter. So, yeah. Okay. What a moron.
So Clark got called Dry Fire for the rest of his life.
That's it. That's his name.
So I loved how you started your company and you called it C4.
Dude. Back to I guess people would say cliches. Celebrate, elevate. I love it. Why not? It's my diagnosis. And yeah, it was a pretty dope, a plastic explosive made in the 60s to do a very specific job. Why not?
Right.
Absolutely. But sometimes people go, well, you're a DBA, but you got your name after an explosive. And I was like, yeah, you can look at it that way. But, sweat on the brow is going to show you the difference. And no, the companies will always be C4, man. Your name is your brand. This is C4, dude. It's just, it's where it's at. So
Yeah. So how many employees are you working with that work for you?
I'm a small company and I love it. Right now we're mainly independent contractors, and we're like 4 or 5 right now, and maybe it'll get more. There are some thoughts about as high as maybe 10 or 20. Probably a mix between W-2s and the 1099s, but at the moment, we just grow it conservative. I want to be able to have a life. My wife is retired. I'm 41. She's 51. I would like some time with her. So that's part change. I thought I'd be in a jet, with the Maybach, converted, with the lift, No, I'm not that dude, man. I get my shoes from Fred Meyer's now.
I was just gonna say you sound pretty gangster talking about you want your G4 and a Maybach.
Dude, those days were real, man. 310 motoring, man. I had plans, bro. Yeah, I was a level 3 card carrying at Nordstrom. Okay, it was.
Look at.
Yeah. It was some good days. And thank God those days are done, because these are new days and these are way better.
Yeah.
More systemic and sustainable than those old ding dong days.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about what you do now. So obviously, COVID-19 has provided, an insane time of work for you. So you're doing a lot of working with independent of CDC and transferring data back and forth. So tell us a little bit about what the company is doing now. Yeah.
And again, just so everybody's, I don't know if it's been clear already in this time that we've been chatting, but I didn't go to school for any of this. I didn't go to business school, right? I got nothing, man. I don't even know how to put sentences together very well. My first annual review from Steve was a horrible grammar. You have no idea how to write, and you have an unsafe work environment. I'm like, what's that mean? He's like, you piss your pants too much. And I was like, well, that's true. And he's like, you should get that figured out. And so I did, right? And then that was it. I had no more problems with that. But then it was like, read more, learn how to write. And I didn't know what a comma was. Okay, you get paralyzed at 8. You get schooled from the hospital. You're learning a lot, right? And then you're homeschooled. That's not happening. My mom is homeschooled. No way. And it just, so you're sort of late on a lot of things, and that's fine. You know who you are, right? Copy, paste, rename, do it and do it well. And so here I am I need to make sure I got smart people around me that know this world and understand how we do this and don't do this. And so when this pandemic, hit hard, first part of March, right, again, I'm married to the military, right, retired, but once in, always in. And we got back from a trip. I did a keynote thing up in Canada at the beginning of March. Got home from that, and then Boo Boo was like, door shut. And we're done. This is getting weird, and we need to control this and make sure that we're all process and systems and blah blah blah. And so it was like, okay, not one thought told me that my company, that's the database, the digital plumber for 40 labs, right, is going to do anything. I'm like, okay, glad I got a job, and glad the team's got to put groceries on the table. And then, I don't know 3 weeks later, it was, Todd, we need to do this for California, another New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. And you're like, what? I didn't realize this. So yeah, me and the crew, we're 7 days a week people right now, and just busting some serious hump. And then we brought a new customer live in Arkansas just so they could do COVID testing. They were supposed to do breast cancer testing, pretty cool scientists over there in that Arkansas area, but they basically pivoted their entire company to do COVID testing, and they put on hold the other stuff until the end of the year. So Emily and myself and Tracy and Mark and Justin, we were busting hump to get them live. It takes like 3 or 4 months to get somebody live with the stuff that we do, and we did that like in a month and a half, and work with a really cool company called Orchard. They're an awesome partner, and whatnot. So, dude, I'm tired. I've been working all day today, on a Panther instrument to get it up to date so it'll start doing COVID testing, and then just busting my hump with a lab in Oklahoma. And then today I was like, why am I doing a podcast? This is stupid. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I don't know when I have last day off, right? It was like, this dude better be cool. Because, what if I'm just crying, through the interview? I'm so tired, right? But that's just not me, it's the whole team. So I don't want to, honestly, it's all about me. So anyway, this has actually been a lot of fun. I'm glad we're doing this. And however long we're supposed to do it, we'll just keep going until you tell me to shut up. But yes, we are working with all these laboratories to ensure that they get the results back to the state and or the CDC, depending on who they're responsible to show that data to. Mostly it's the states. And, then there's all these rules, right? You got to have 2 negatives before you can get out of the hospital and go to a nursing home, right? So making sure that all the different processes are in place. And, because, it's automated and you've got these big machines and they're spitting out all this data and in this format called HL7 was made back in 1988 and we're on version 2. The whole world's upside down when it comes to medical data. I don't think anybody knows that. Your data, sorry, buddy. Anybody with just a single digit IQ and maybe a fuzz more could rob your data and do whatever they want with it. It is nuts, that we all live on this really, really fragile system. And we just do our best to try to own our part and, manage it, control it, and keep it secure. But the country needs to make some changes, on what we do. But I don't think it's ever going to happen unless the country completely falls, or we just get taken over. But it's, it's such a big machine, right? You can't turn a ship like that around unless you have some sort of systemic, the ship sinks, right?
Yeah.
Or whatnot. But that's all but my pay grade, and I didn't go to school for any of that. So I'm just getting up and doing what I was told to do.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. I didn't even piece that together. Of your schooling was in, like you said, in the hospital.
Dude, absolutely. That's why I'm such a great laboratorian lover, because I get both sides of the equations. And thank God I got some intelligence. Right?
And so everything that you've done has been through your own just mental fortitude of learning and teaching and having nothing but success as the inevitable.
Well, I would say my only edit would be constant failure, but learning how to fail forward, right? Or sort of learning, from mistakes, which are sort of quote unquote opportunity, whatever the buzzwords are. Just a ridiculous amount of failure, but learning from that failure and not allowing that to do me in or give up. That is where the success is fortitude to keep kicking butt. And my boo-boos to my left is doing this, which I think means good answer, because that's the absolute truth. And Karen will not allow me to BS or spread mistruth. So, yeah, man, this is a wild ride at 41 and seeing all these things and how literally my disability has been the engine to doing all these pretty fantastic things. And I don't know if it was you or whoever. Sometimes people call me a little weird, a little artsy, a little strange. But I was telling somebody the other day, I was a client in Texas. I said, the human experience is amazing. It's fantastic, regardless of the condition of the earth suit. And my earth suit is bad. It is jacked and dented and broken and failing, but it has not stopped this incredible amount of joy in the human experience. And that is what I want to make sure is shared before I get to finally retire the earth suit and go to a better place is, yeah, man, it was a rough life, but you did the best of it, and you finished without any ammo, good job. Right. And there you go.
I love that you say that. I'm assuming you're a spiritual person when you start talking about your earth suit and
extremely.
And so when you think about we're spiritual beings having human experiences, we're not human beings having small spiritual experiences.
Like I'm talking to a young version of my dad right now.
And so to understand that what you have gone through here on earth in this skeleton suit was provided for you because of what your spirit needed to learn its lessons, why it was here.
I sometimes would like to call it a meat sleeve. Rather than an earth suit, but Boo Boo don't like that word. So that's why I call it earth suit, not meat sleeve. But yes, dude, as the spirit in me learned a whole lot. And I guess it needed some extra time to cook, and I'm doing it. But restoration does look pretty good. But again, that's when it is appropriate. But until then, I ain't focused on it. I ain't gonna die tomorrow. If I do, okay. But I'm not focused. I got stuff to do right now, and I got a good gig, and I'm gonna enjoy it. You know, tonight's snuggle night. Okay, every other night snuggle night. Okay. The nuggle is real. And why wouldn't I want that as much as possible? You know, so tonight is good. The nurse puts me to bed. Baby girl comes in. She snuggles up next. She got the sweet little sound she makes when she's sleeping. I love it. It's 6 hours of bliss. And then you get up and do the day. And, man, I want that as much as possible. So it's a good gig.
That's incredible. So what's next in store for you, Todd?
Well, it's to live through the pandemic. And sorry, I'm doing some spasms. This is all quadriplegic normal. And keep my job going. Keep going. Karen is a professor, and she's got her job. She's an adjunct professor. She likes that. She can control the schedule. She won't be tied to anybody. She did that for 25 years. She's good and wants to do her thing. And I just like to be able to spend some time with her. And so we just pushing through the pandemic, bro. You know, we control who comes in the house. It's only the medical staff. And that's really it. We're not really doing visitors, and a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of playing games online. And, you know, and I would have already been on a couple trips. I'm supposed to do a keynote in Missouri and, not Missouri, Mississippi, and then potentially Chicago. So a lot of that stuff's canceled. I am an extrovert, that's for sure. So that part's weighing on me a little bit, you know, just having some of that social interaction. And but no, and what's next is just to keep doing this and keep smiling. And I've been having some thoughts on, should I do some sort of podcast thing? Should I do some sort of, you know, Todd against the machine concept? And I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But that's the life I got. And when the pandemic's going, man, I want to go on a little bit of vacation. I want to go down to the water or just a little spot, a little breakfast and bed and breakfast or something.
Yeah.
But until then, it's what I'm doing. What about you? Where are you at in your whole situation with all this craziness?
You know, a lot of my focus has just really been on building the podcast and like doing creative things through that. You know, I'm a business consultant, business coach, kind of like an outsourced COO. And so I help brands kind of strategize on how to grow. I work with executives to make sure that they show up as their truest self so that when they are, you know, leading their team, that they understand the difference between the spirit and the ego, so that when they are, you know, making those changes or managing, you know, so I kind of come in with this like holistic business, you know, Swiss Army knife of business approach to be able to help, you know, executives run their businesses better, but also kind of help scale it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so, you know, obviously this pandemic has hit really hard, you know, like my kind of client that I work with. So I'm in a position where I'm able to kind of weather the storm. And so I've just shifted my focus. Like this was a passion project for me, and it's just kind of really turned into something that's been beautiful, that I've been able to have conversations about God, about spirituality, about business, just about life. And it's really expanded my horizons to just go all in on this. I've really found the knack for loving to have conversation. I'm an extrovert just like you. I love communication. I love connecting with individuals. I really have found a knack for interviewing and talking with people.
What's the ring around the necklace? This
is my grandfather's wedding ring.
I love it.
Grandfather's wedding ring and my grandfather's dog tag.
Oh, man. What was your grandpa's name?
Joseph Meyer.
Joseph. That's tight, dude.
Yeah, he served in the Vietnam War.
Understood. Yeah. I got my grandpa and my great-grandpa, another heroes. It's just some of those old school men, dude.
Yeah, like with their hands.
Yeah. And my dad, he can literally punch all the buttons on a keyboard with one finger. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Dad, you're sort of disabled. And with my disability, son. Well, you're a grown man, right? They don't make them. It's like, what happened? They're all like little babies now. But yeah, his finger literally can hit 4 keys at once. And so it's like, well, maybe we just converted him over to an iPhone from a Android. And so like doing FaceTime and stuff has been a blast because now he just FaceTimes all the time. Every phone call's a FaceTime. And he's holding the phone, and then it's like, okay, Dad, we're done talking or whatever. Then you hit the button. Of course, you just go to pause, right? No, Dad. You got to hit the little red button. He's like, right? He always says this, Judas Priest. Son. And I'm like, okay, I'll hang up for you this time, but you've grown. You got to learn this. And so he's now able to hit the red X on his own. But I was like, maybe I should get him a stylist. I think Steve Jobs rolling in his grave right now with that. But some of these cats, Steve, got big hands, man.
Yeah.
Big dogs need a stylist. But who knows? Now I just got to get my mom converted. She's still rolling Android too.
Oh God, come on.
Everybody in the people group, right? The whole family unit is on iOS. So they're the only 2 dogs in the entire group that were rolling in a complete different platform. And so converting my dad, because he was like, ooh, I'll give it a try, sir. I have a phone upgrade. And so he did his phone, and my mom is now using the phone quite a bit. So I think my mom, maybe by the end of the year, will also convert too.
It's like, come on, Mom, Dad, I was literally in a commercial for the friggin' company.
Yeah, well, there's that too, but it's more like, this is what I've learned too. Okay, let's talk about this for a hot minute, because this is an irritant. Right? Everybody has their preference and purpose. Everything's got pros and cons. So we can love Windows, right? And we can love Mac OS. We can love iOS and we can love Android. Okay? There's room for everybody in the sandbox. And I'm not the dude that is just, I'm hardcore. Everything else blows. Not that dude. And find what's yours, figure it out, do you. And whatnot. And so with my dad, it was Pops. Come on, and with the Android platform, we're going to have to go install all these third-party apps on your phone and our phones and on all the different devices. I was like, honestly, the ROI here is that you really should buy an iPhone because you're going to get time with your children, and more importantly, because this is the winter of grandparents, grandchildren. And it was like, okay, son. And now he says, I can FaceTime like right from the phone. I was like, yeah, guess what? We can do multiple FaceTime. You want more people to come on the phone with us? Bring them on. And he was just like, oh, whoa. So I think that's really funny. I just made that because you're never going to hear me, pissing and moaning about one over the other. We all have our goods and our bads and, figure it out and go get it done. But Apple runs my life and Windows runs my business. And I got both, I just remote desktop to either one. They're always running, and got the 20 servers behind me in those blue doors, and that's what we do, brother. We do it.
That's incredible.
Room for everything.
That's incredible. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know that you've had a busy day, but I'd love to connect further with you and let everybody be able to find you. So what's the easiest and best way to find you?
Well, my marketing people, and that sounds weird to say that, but that's the truth. Everybody wants everybody to start at the toddstabelfeldt.com.
Okay.
Basically my name. And then from there, you can do messaging and emailing and whatnot. And again, I'm not trying to be anybody but me. You get a lot of stuff from all over the world. And I have no problems communicating and chatting with people. The website's updated quite a bit. And so like the articles now is updated because we now I write Todd Against the Machine column for a magazine called New Mobility, which is like the People magazine for crippled people, just so you have a little reference point.
Yeah.
It's got a pretty good spread. It's got a lot of people reading it and whatnot, so you can go do there. And but yeah, just toddstabelfeldt.com. And then that will take you to all the other websites, obviously the business website. So if you're a laboratory, in need of quality care, we always keep the primary focus. That's the patient and whatnot. But I'll chat with you anytime, dude. It's been a real cool honor. And tonight we're going to go play our Wednesday night games with the Quad Squad. And we'll do a little Zoom thing online and play games and just love on each other because we're all, quarantined up and being disabled, all of us. We don't get a chance to get out like we used to, so we just do it on Zoom. So,
dude, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me. This has been such an incredible experience. There's been so many moments of your story where I'm just on the edge of my seat. There's been moments where I got nothing but love for you.
same here, man.
Some good man love over here where I was just my heart was just in your story and just felt it. And I am just blown away by your perseverance and who you are as a human. And I am so incredibly grateful for the fact that I was able to be introduced to you and to meet you.
Amen, dude. Appreciate you too. And wherever it all goes, it goes. And whatever I can do to promote, and share your world, would love to do that. And let me know when this is I don't know what's next, when it goes live or it gets quote unquote dropped, right? That's all the cool kids say.
Yeah.
Let me know. But amen, dude. Keep kicking butt, bro. Know who you are and keep doing what you love.
I appreciate it, man. It's been a pleasure, and thanks so much for your time. And have a wonderful night, and have some fun cuddling. Maybe we can do another episode of just catching up on GOT. We have to rewatch the seasons and then just kind of shoot the shit about it.
Hey, I can do that on the daily.